Hi, Karen Kuski here. Most of the quilts I make are art quilts, so today I'm going to share one of the techniques I use in making an art quilt. The first thing I do is do my designing in EQ8, and then I print out paper patterns, which is mostly templates that I'll use for cutting out my fabrics. The quilt I'm going to share today is a raw edge applique with fusible web, and the theme is a landscape of the Smoky Mountains based on photos that I've taken. So I hope you enjoy watching, and also if you'd like to see more of my quilts and patterns, please check out my website, quiltpatternsmore.com. Here's a photo that I based my quilt design on. It's actually two photos, top half and bottom half. The top half was my focal point, but it was long, which I liked, but the height was not there, so I added the bottom half. They're both taken in the same location, just not at the exact same spot. So I combined them together. I'm putting them both in EQ8, and then I trace the elements that I want to include in my quilt. Here's a photo of my full-size master pattern that I'm going to use to build my quilt. It's 62 inches wide and 30 inches tall. I printed it on 11 by 17 paper and then taped all those pages together. And this master pattern has an outline of each applique piece in here. I hand lettered and numbered each piece according to the templates I also printed out separately. This blank area down here is going to be flowering bushes, which I didn't make any pattern pieces for. I'm just going to cut my flowering print fabrics out and make a collage there according to what I saw up there on the mountain. The other colors in here, colors and fabrics, are just close representations of what the real quilt will be. I'll pull fabric out that I have available and make it as close as possible to what I see here. Here's a picture of the master pattern, just a portion of it, laid out on my work table, and the Teflon sheet over here on this side, where I can put my fused appliques down and iron them without disturbing the pattern. And there's also a pressing sheet underneath all this to not destroy my work table top. This shows a little bit closer the Teflon sheet. You can pull it back and see my pattern pieces real easy, and they're numbered. I can also see through this. So here's some of the appliques already fused down on this side, and I'm just working my way down the quilt, but I can see through enough, and I can always take a peek underneath to see exactly where my pieces need to be. So that's how that works with the Teflon and fusible appliques. Here's one other thing I wanted to point out. When I went to print out my appliques, I put like a 0.12 of an inch seam around it, just so that would print out. That allows me to overlap. Like this 12 and 13 will overlap. So I have a place to overlap and secure them with the fusible web. You don't need very much, but they do need to overlap some. Here's my next piece, number 12. I just cut it out. I cut on the outside to leave that little cell or little piece of overlap. Take off the paper. Here's my fabric. Peel off the backing of the fusible web. And so now I can place this on my pattern. Peek underneath here. I can see about where it goes, but not exactly. So I'll look underneath here and see where number 12 goes. It looks like it goes this way here. So then I'll just place this underneath and line up with that pattern line underneath. I've got piece 12 and 13 just laying there. I took off the back of the fusible web. Now I'm just going to use my little mini iron and press down on those where they overlap. Just takes a few seconds. And now I'll go on to my next piece. I usually leave a little bit of, not press down totally to the very edge because I might need to slip something underneath there the next piece or two. So I leave a little bit of opening on the edge because I'm not sure how it's going to layer yet until I get to that part of the pattern. Here's a progress view so far. These distant mountains, I'm going to start working down here because my Teflon sheet, I'm at the end of it over on the right hand side. So I'll just start working down and then I'll move my sheet, peel this all off and move my sheet down. Now it's time to choose my sky background. I did choose this one, this piece of sky out of my stash that I really like. So I hang it on my design wall. And now I'm going to put the applique, the fused appliques together and position it in different positions on the sky background and choose the one I like and go with that. After hanging my piece of sky fabric on my design wall, I placed my fused together appliques of the mountain scene on the sky fabric, and I positioned it in different places so I could stand back and look at the different skies and choose the best one I like. Here is the position that I chose I want to use for placing my appliques onto the sky background. So I pinned it onto my design wall exactly where I wanted it. I took a whole bunch of pictures and looked at the different photos and kept repositioning until I got what I liked. So now I've chosen this spot and I put blue painter's tape along the top edge of the appliques. And then I just cut right above the appliques. So I have a position, because when I take this off the wall, it's going to be in two pieces. So now I can lay my sky fabric on my work table and then position my appliques right on top of that sky, matching up the blue tapes. And then it'll be exactly in the position that I chose. Here's the sky fabric laying on my work table. You can see the tape, the top half of the tape that I left over. I don't need to adhere those appliques and have all this sky fabric below behind, so I'm just going to cut it off right here. So only the, maybe an inch of overlap. So I'm going to start cutting right along here, and then my appliques will just stick onto where the tape is. No need to have extra layers of fabric behind it. That's not going to be seen. So here's the sky fabric. I cut it off. You can see right there. So I'm going to lay my appliques now right up against these pieces of blue tape. So they're exactly where I want them to be. Okay, here's my appliques all laying down on top of the sky fabric, and all the blue tape areas are all matched up. And so it's exactly where I want, and I'm ready to press it on. Here's the finished quilt. It's all raw edge applique except for the sky. That's just one piece of fabric. So you can make this, a quilt like this, based on your own photograph and putting it into EQ8 or just tracing it by hand yourself. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be doing a short follow-up video to this to show the supplies and the equipment that I use when I make art quilts. So if you hit subscribe, you'll get a notice of when this is available to view.